I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, one of my guests that I haven't had on a long time, he actually wrote me and said, "Did I scare you off?" Of course you didn't scare me off. You're the fantastic Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Treasury Secretary, used to be a top editor for the Wall Street Journal. Too much truth in there, so they had to get rid of him. Still, he is a world-renowned author, world-renowned journalist. Paul Craig Roberts, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Always a pleasure.
You wrote an article, and this is what you wrote me in this thing saying that did I scare you off? I said, of course you didn't. I'm glad you called me because I have an embarrassment of bookings. Compelling proof of coup plot against Donald Trump. I've been in the business since the '70s, the news business. I've never seen this kind of political warfare. Is it going to get worse? What's going on in your estimation?
It can't get any better. They're so far committed now, the whole future of the Democratic Party depends entirely on whether they can convince the majority of voters that all the lies that they're telling, all the lies that the media repeats endlessly are true. If the people see, oh, this is another Russiagate orchestration, the Democrats will be wiped out in the next election. So the Democrats have no choice. They also face the possibility, though it looks to me more and more remote, that the Department of Justice will come forward with a report and indictments of the Obama administration officials who orchestrated the fake Russiagate. And so they will increase, by they, I mean the Democrats will increase the pressure on the Trump administration so they can say, oh, we don't have to pay attention to this report or these indictments because the only purpose of them is to get the focus off of Trump's crimes. So yeah, it's going to get worse. The real mystery, Greg, is that Trump has all the power he needs to stop it. What happens to whistleblowers in the United States? They all get arrested immediately. Look what happened to John Kirikou, to William Benny, to all of them. And they were real whistleblowers protected by statutory federal whistleblower laws. This current so-called whistleblower is not a whistleblower. This is an orchestration. We have definite proof that the whistleblower complaint was orchestrated. They worked on it a month before they released it, involved Adam Schiff himself. The whistleblower is a CIA agent. We know that the form on which the alleged complaint was processed was in violation of the law because the law requires the whistleblower to identify him or herself and to step forward. And this is some sort of third party hearsay whistleblower. Nobody knows who it is. The whole thing is corrupt from start to go. And it's amazing that there haven't already been all kinds of indictments. It's amazing this whistleblower is not in prison. That's what they do to whistleblowers. So, Trump doesn't seem capable of even understanding his powers or doing anything. So I assume the Democrats look at him and say, whoa, this sure is an easy target. He doesn't even know how to use the powers of his office.
Do you think they're just winding up for a much bigger case? One of the things that Donald Trump talked about was that it's more than just politics; it's huge corruption. And then we find out, there's all these different people. Pelosi's son reported to be on one of these boards. Romney has got ties to Ukraine. This is all in Ukraine. Of course, Biden, and then now it breaks a story that the one of the members of parliament in the Ukraine dropped a bombshell on the floor of their parliament saying that Joe Biden personally, or actually released this, I don't know if he did it on parliament, but Joe Biden personally was paid $900,000 by Burisma Holdings. This is according to a Ukrainian member of parliament. Where's this going? I mean, and the mainstream media won't cover this.
No, they won't because they're too busy with lies. Yes, this isn't just a report or a rumor. This is an actual fact. It's reported on Interfax. It's known everywhere that Biden was paid almost $1 million to provide protection for the corrupt firm that was paying his son, it turns out, $850,000. So between father and son, in less than a year, they collected $1,750,000 simply for preventing the Ukrainian attorney general from investigating the firm. So do you expect the media is going to report that? Of course not. No, they won't. But there's nothing to stop the U.S. Department of Justice from subpoenaing people and having make them testify and issuing arrest warrants. There's nothing to stop the Justice Department. So the real question is, why is the Trump Justice Department so completely immobile? It's almost like it's not there. Where is it? It's somewhere out on the surface of Mars. This is every bit as incomprehensible as the Democrats' reliance on a system of orchestrated lies repeated endlessly by the media. Like you, I've never seen the likes of this. I mean, here you have the Democratic Party showing they have no political ethics, no integrity, no respect for facts, for evidence, for truth. You see, Greg, I think the crux of this is that, and you know this as well as I do, the oligarchs, the elite, the establishment, they always determine for both parties, Republican and Democrat, who the candidates for House, Senate, and President will be. They determine that with their campaign contributions. If you're not going to be their servant, you're not going to get any donations, and it's very unlikely you'll ever win an election. So along comes Trump, and he surprises them. This is a people's revolt. He wins. He's an outsider. Now you have the oligarchs faced with an outsider in office for 8 years. How do they control explanations? How do they control the agenda? What is the danger of an outsider? I mean, like you said, the establishment is rife with crime and corruption. There's not an honest person in it. So they have to get rid of him. And they use the Democrats. This isn't a Democrat versus Republican thing. This is the elite, the establishment, the oligarchs, the people who rule the country, defending their power. Again, Trump was elected by the people. Remember, Hillary called them the Trump deplorables. So the people who go against the elite candidate are deplorable. The voters are deplorable. That's what this is about. They have to get him out for that reason. They also know that if they get him out for that reason, every other person inclined to step forward and actually try to lead the country rather than serve the ruling class, that person will know he hasn't a chance. Even if he gets in office, he's going to be excoriated, framed up, lied about, driven out. Nobody wants that grief. I wrote some time ago, I didn't comprehend why a multi-billionaire with a beautiful wife, I mean, Trump must be married to the most beautiful woman in the world, would want all this trouble. He doesn't gain by it. Even if he's totally corrupt and gets another $9 billion, what does it mean? You can't do anything with that kind of money. He's already got more money than he could possibly ever do anything with. So it tells any future person who says, I've got to go save the country, it's pointless. They'll just tear you up. I don't even see support for Trump in his own government. Like I say, to repeat myself, where are the indictments that we are told that Barr and the special investigator, or whatever he's called, I forget his name now, Where are these? We already know that the Russiagate operation, the Steel Dossier, the deception of the FISA Court, we know all of this was felonies. Indeed, I consider it treason. And there's nothing, there's no action, nothing. So, that's the most amazing thing to me, and particularly when every legitimate whistleblower has been destroyed. Now we have a fake one, a CIA operation against the president, and nobody even knows who the whistleblower is. It's so transparent. If the American people fall for this, they'll go down in history as the most utterly stupid people that ever walked the earth, and they will deserve the consequences. It will be the end of America.
The media. I see these polls. I railed on Hillary Clinton, said she'd never be president. I said all the polls were fake. You remember the George Stephanopoulos ABC poll? 12. She's up by 12. This is about a week before the election. She's up by 12 points. Even Stephanopoulos sat on the air and went, well, maybe she's only up by 6 points. I mean, they didn't believe their own polls. They know the poll. Now we have a poll, Fox News poll. Fox News, 51% of Americans, want Trump, impeached. 30% of Republicans want Trump impeached. A couple of months ago, he had 94% support by Republicans. The polls, the media, the polls. There's not a single story out there that I don't read. I had this. Hold on. I'm sorry. I had this for my weekly news wrap up. Okay. This is. He's already convicted. He's done. We got him. Can you talk about the media being you were a top editor at the Wall Street Journal in the belly of the beast? I worked at ABC News and CNN. You worked at the Wall Street Journal. You're an award-winning journalist now globally. Your website, paulcraigroberts.org, had 4 million views already this year. You're seen in 90, almost 100 countries daily. That's bigger than the Wall Street Journal. But can you give your take on the media psyop going on?
Okay, Greg, look, when you and I were in journalism, it was before the Clinton regime allowed 6 mega companies to purchase 90% of the U.S. media. The American media has never been very good, but it was dispersed and there was independence. Well, when you take 90% of it and you put it in 6 mega corporations, you completely destroy the independence of the media. There's no independence. And they have to do whatever the elites want because the elites own them and control them. And every reporter knows if he tells the truth that the elites don't want told, he's history. Every editor knows if they publish a big story on the $900,000 paid by the Ukrainian Burisma to Joe Biden for protection, they're fired. They can't get another job. They know this. They all know this. There's no media. And of course, this means they can be used for psyop operations, which is what they're being used for. And as you say, it's not just lies and false charges. They're doing the same thing with the Ukraine Gate, I think they call it, as they did with Russiagate. There was no basis to Russiagate. Not even Mueller, who was assigned the task of destroying Trump, could do it. And the media knew that the whole time, but they continued and continued. And now they have found another way to try to go at it. So the psyop goes far beyond the lies, the endless repeating of lies. It's also the fake reporting of polls. They know Americans are lemmings. They know Americans are afraid to be too different from their peers. So they try to use fake reported polls to convince people that, oh, you better be for the impeachment of Trump, or you're somehow out of touch with reality. You're not part of the group. Your peers will turn away from you. You won't be accepted. So that's what they use these fake polls for. They're trying to influence people's behavior. So just like if they say a week before the election that Hillary's ahead by 12 points, the purpose of that is to stop Trump supporters from even going to the polls. Why should they go to the polls? Because they can't have any effect on the outcome. So that's what the psyop is. That's what the polls are. Convincing people. You've got to be against Trump because everybody else is, even the Republicans.
You think that that these reporters, they just don't stop? I thought after the election in 2016, stupid me, I thought that this would die down. This would stop. Oh no, it's intensified. After 2018, intensified. It's intensified. I mean, there was a media leak strategy discussed by Strzok, the number 2 counterintelligence person at the FBI, and Lisa Page, the lawyer to the number 2 at the FBI, Andrew McCabe. They're talking about the media leak strategy, and they're doing it all over again. And they're ramping it up. It's even greater. You can't even find a story that's positive on Trump in any ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. Well, Wall Street Journal maybe, New York Times, L.A. Times, Washington Post. That's a joke. So you can't. You had Chuck Todd on the air last weekend, I think, talking to Ben Johnson, Senator Johnson, saying you can't attack the media. Todd, Chucky. He's attacking the propaganda, buddy. So, I mean, do these people know they're propaganda?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You think Chuck Todd knows he's a propaganda agent?
They all know they're whores. They're paid to be whores. That's why they're called prostitutes. Nobody calls them reporters any longer. They're whores. They're paid to be prostitutes. They know it. And they're competing for promotion by who can best serve the oligarchs who rule us.
Ooh.
Who can do the most damage to Trump? That will be the next editor. They're competing for that increase in their status, their rise in the organization. The more outrageous their lies, the better they're seen by their bosses, by the oligarchs. Oh, well, that's a reliable guy. We'll make him the editor. So that's what's going on. These people know they're whores. Do you think the entirety of the American media is so stupid that they would fall for this? They know there's no evidence. If there was any evidence, they would be hyping the evidence, wouldn't they? Not making up things. Of course they know they're whores. When I was in journalism, we didn't have 6 mega corporations owning the entirety of the media. Clinton did that. This is against U.S. antitrust law. It's against the traditional American practice of having a widely dispersed and independent media. That was what the founding fathers relied on to keep the government accountable. They got rid of all that. They're not accountable. The oligarchs run things. The government is just a creature of theirs. And Trump is not one of their creatures. I keep expecting him just to say, okay, you win. I'm yours. What you want me to do? And then it'll all go away. That's all he has to do. Trump could stand up and say, okay, the American people are too stupid to support me. I was trying to help the country. I give in. You guys are the boss. Attach the puppet strings and I'll dance just like Obama and George W. Bush and Clinton. Just go ahead, put the strings on me. That's all he has to do. This will go away, just like that.
Wow. That's
and this isn't just my opinion, this is fact. This is the absolute hard fact. I gave an accurate, totally 100% accurate description of what the situation really is.
What about Nancy Pelosi in this absolutely bizarre impeachment inquiry, which really isn't? They won't vote. My contention is I don't think she has the vote. They keep telling me that she's got the votes. I don't think she has the votes, and if she did...
No, Greg, you're missing the point.
Okay.
They don't want to vote because then they got to do an impeachment, and then they got to have evidence.
Oh yeah, and then they have to have subpoena power on the
They
other
got to
side.
have evidence.
Yeah.
Now they don't need any evidence, so they can continue all of this. That's the reason they won't vote. See, it's already, look, the White House legal counsel already sent a letter to the Democrats pointing out that what they were doing is totally outside all of the policies that have to be followed for an impeachment inquiry. That they're violating every single rule, every traditional practice. They know that. The House Democrats know that. They don't want to vote. They don't want to have facts. They want to have an open situation. They are hoping that the endless propaganda, the endless mud they're slinging, that enough of it will stick on Trump that he'll lose re-election. That's what they're doing. They're also protecting themselves against the case that Barr and the Justice Department actually come forward with indictments. Because then they can say, look, these indictments are just Trump's crooked way of getting the focus off of his impeachment. So that's what they're doing. And they know that. So don't expect them to get in a situation where they got to produce evidence. And they also know that it's highly unlikely that the Senate would, and the Republicans in the Senate would just throw their power away and vote for impeachment. You know, the House can impeach you, but it doesn't mean anything unless the Senate confirms it. So they got to know that they're not going to convince all these Republicans to vote for a lie and lose power.
So you don't think you don't think the House will ever vote for an actual impeachment?
No, this is a mudslinging operation.
So you think when it comes down to, okay, now it's time to vote when we want to impeach the president, you think that day never comes?
That never comes.
So you're just going to continue this for how? My gosh, what a risky, never tried before plot. I mean, this has never been tried before.
Oh, baloney. That's what Stalin did to the Bolsheviks.
No, I don't know. In America. Here in America.
You know, we don't really know, do we? Because the whole history they feed us is a pack of lies, too. I mean, we don't really know what's happened in our history. We know what they want us to think.
But back to the impeachment vote. I mean, this is off the charts. Never in the history of America been tried. This inquiry.
I don't know what they were trying to do to Andrew Johnson.
Yeah, he didn't want to have a central bank.
I'm just not. I don't remember. But
you don't remember? Oh, sir.
Look, Greg. What did they do to John F. Kennedy?
Well, yeah.
They didn't go to any of this trouble. They just blew him away. I'm surprised they haven't done that to Trump.
They've tried, supposedly, many times.
You know, I would expect if he wins re-election, he'll be assassinated. I'd almost bet my life on that.
Oh my gosh! I hope you're wrong.
Why do you think this isn't possible?
No, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I hope you're wrong. No, I think it is possible. That's why I'm.
If they kill Kennedy, they'll kill anybody else. They killed his brother.
See, I think he's got to come out fighting at some point. He's got to start throwing some haymakers. He's got to start taking these guys down. He's got to.
Look, all he has to do is get the Justice Department to perform its function. Trump didn't have to do anything. This is the Justice Department. They're not performing their function. They're sitting there sucking their thumbs.
So you think this idea of Durham is over in Italy and Barr is in Italy and UK and they're traveling the world to find out how this whole Russiagate started, that they're so you think that's just slow walking it?
Yeah, it's just so that they can pretend they're doing something. Look, we already know how Russiagate got started. It's already known. We already know where the Steel Dossier came from. We know the Democratic Party paid for it. We know that Comey deceived the FISA Court by claiming that it was some kind of real evidence rather than a piece of political garbage paid for by the DNC. Everybody knows this. This has been out in the open for a couple of years. There's no excuse for these for Barr and what's the other guy's name being overseas and talking and furthermore, that's never the function of the Attorney General. You send investigators, but they don't need them. They already know what's happened. We already have total proof from the email correspondence between this Peter Strzok and his mistress that they had a plan to defeat Trump.
Crossfire Hurricane. That was the
FBI, involved the CIA. These things are known. They've been known. The Justice Department knows them. Rod Rosenstein knew them. They all know them. And nothing happens. So, Trump, sure. Look, you remember our discussion back during the campaign about Trump, could he change things and all this? And I said I was for him because he wanted to normalize relations with Russia.
Yep.
Because otherwise we're going to end up in a nuclear war. You can't keep on taunting and demonizing a powerful military like Russia without something going wrong.
Correct.
And I was for him for a second reason, because he said he was going to stop all the offshoring of American middle-class jobs. If that doesn't stop, we don't have an economy. So I said, all these other faults aren't important. These are the two things that need doing. But I said, he has no idea about Washington. He doesn't know who to appoint, who would help him. And he'll be taken over before he's ever in office by all his enemies. They'll staff his government. That's exactly what happened.
You were correct.
Can you imagine him? He wants to normalize relations with Russia and get the troops out of the Middle East, and he appoints John Bolton, National Security Advisor.
Yeah, we finally got rid of him.
Finally, yeah, but I mean, what kind of thought process was going on that he would even consider putting a warmonger like Bolton in such a sensitive position?
And the cat thinks you're right, too.
The cat knows I'm right.
The cat knows he's right. How does this end? Economically, I just want to touch on this because, you wore a lot of hats. You're a smart guy. You got a huge resume. I just kind of glossed over it with you're an editor at the Wall Street Journal at one point. You're an award-winning journalist and writer. Written a lot of books, too. But you've also were Assistant Treasury Secretary. Where you came up with trickle-down economics, and this was in the Reagan administration, so you know a lot about the economy. Trump said that this impeachment thing drags on, they'll crash the markets. We have a lot of debt out there. You've heard about the 20 trillion overtly. Then there's the 21 trillion by Dr. Mark Skidmore and his team at Michigan State University. We've got some at least 40-something trillion dollars they admit to. How shaky is the economy? How long can this go on?
The economy is supported by Fed liquidity. As long as the Federal Reserve pumps out money, it can keep asset prices up. It's been doing that now for 10 years. I didn't realize the Federal Reserve was that corrupt. The Federal Reserve has simply pushed aside any market pricing, any market adjustments. The asset prices, the financial price assets, these things are so out of any contact with reality. But it doesn't matter, because if stocks try to go down, the Fed buys S&P futures, they go back up. If they want to have zero interest rates, they just buy more bonds and drive the price up. The same thing is going on in the EU. The same thing in Japan. In fact, in Japan, it's even worse. The Japanese central bank now owns a very large percentage of Japanese equities. They buy the stocks outright, not just bonds. So the central banks, as long as they can create as much money as they want, and they can because they're all doing the same thing. Since they're all creating money, there's no reason for the currency of one to go down relative to the other. Yeah. And right now, the dollar's even stronger because Japan and Europe have negative interest rates. That means they charge you money to buy a bond. They charge you money to have funds in a bank. And so all the money is coming here because we still have small positive interest rates. And that drives up the dollar's value despite the Fed pumping out money. So you have an economy that's unconnected from reality because the Federal Reserve keeps it afloat with money. The same thing in Europe, the same thing in Japan. So they can keep this going indefinitely.
Wow, economy unconnected from reality. So you don't see any kind of near-term crash in the markets at all.
Just a minute, Greg. You're thinking about, I don't see anything caused by natural economic forces. Now, if they can't get Trump out, they will crash it. There'll be a big crash before the election, and then people will blame Trump. That's about how smart Americans are. Now, there's one constraint on the Fed doing that, because the Fed is a tool of the New York banks. If they crash the economy, they're going to crash those New York banks. So that's kind of the only restraint on the elites. I mean, the elites own the Fed, not anyone else. So that's their ultimate nuke. If they can't get him out, okay, we're going to bring down the economy. Too bad for the New York banks, or they'll find some special way to bail them out while everything else goes. The pension funds, the hedge funds, the mutual funds, they'll wipe us out in order to get rid of him.
Wow.
Yeah, they can do it. How? They stop providing liquidity. They start selling bonds instead of buying them. If the stocks start falling, they stop intervening to stop the fall. You have to remember, the plunge protection team has been there since the last year of the Reagan administration.
Yep, 88.
Plunge protection team was set up to be sure there was no stock crash that would hurt George Herbert Walker's Bush chance to succeed Reagan. Well, that was a long time ago. They've had plenty of time to learn how to intervene and maintain asset prices, how to affect them. And they know they can do that. So that's the truth. I mean, you can't expect some independent, they talk about black swans. There's no black swan that can overcome the Fed's printing press. They just push another button. They need $100 trillion, push it. They need $1 trillion, they push it. There's nothing to prevent them. There's no limit on the Fed's ability to print money. Losses to the Fed are meaningless. Whatever loss on their portfolio, they just print more money.
And then, so what does the little guy do? I ask this question a lot. Do you just take the other side of the bet and buy physical gold and silver? I mean, people say, somebody wrote me and said, well, you push gold and silver. I don't know what else. I wouldn't push dollars. I wouldn't push the bloated stock market. I don't know what. I would push safety. I mean, I just had Peter Schiff on. He says people think stocks are safe, and gold and silver, physical gold and silver, are risky.
Yeah, I know.
So what would you do? Would you be a buyer of gold and silver with this kind of money printing going on?
I don't give advice.
Okay. Would you think gold and silver would be? Do you think gold and silver are risky, or do you think they're not risky?
Traditionally, those who have gold and silver are the ones that survive. That's history.
Look at Venezuela.
It's history. If you've got gold and silver, when everything else is destroyed, you still have something. And food. You got food and water. And you got a means of protecting them. So, but you can have gold and silver, and the government just says, no, you don't. We've confiscated it. Turn it in. I mean, that's what FDR did to Americans in the 30s. He said, turn in your gold. We'll give you $35 an ounce for it. Or, no, what did they give them? $20 an ounce.
Yeah, right.
We'll give you $20 an ounce. All the foolish, dumb shit Americans turn in their gold. As soon as the government had it, the price is now $35.
Do you think that we could get into some, if they don't get Trump out, this is a kind of little piece of news here, a little piece of analysis I haven't heard you talk about. If they don't get Trump out, you think the chances of crashing the economy are big?
I'd say they were certain as long as they can have a way of saving the New York banks. You see, the New York banks,
Yeah, well, they could do that.
you'd like to listen. They are the boards of directors of the New York Fed.
Ah,
The New York Fed is the operating arm of the Federal Reserve System. So the board of directors are the executives in the New York banks. So they're going to say, yes, let's crash the economy and destroy our banks that have made us so rich. No, they'll say, well, we got to figure out how to destroy the economy to get rid of Trump without hurting the banks. So the Fed says, okay, we cover all your losses. We'll just print up the money and put it in your accounts. Or we'll buy all of your losses at par, not at the new market value, but we'll guarantee you against any decline in asset price. We'll buy everything that declines in value at the former price. They can do that, and then they can crash the system.
oh boy, that is ominous. That is ominous stuff, my friend.
I'm just telling you what they can do. I'm not saying what they're going to do.
Yeah,
I'm
but they
saying
can
this
do
is
it.
something that they can do.
So you should protect yourself because that's a possibility.
How can you protect yourself?
But water, food, gold, silver, lead.
It's
I
lead,
mean, right?
lead, probably
Yes.
guns and lead above all, because you got guns and lead, you can take the other stuff away from whoever's got it.
Well, we we hope you just have to, you plan well enough where all you have to do is protect your own. Instead of going out on a stealing rampage. That's not going to make things any better. Well, listen. With that, I'm gonna stop because I'm trying to make these interviews.
Yeah,
a little
we've
short.
we've gone way over. We were going to keep it down, but
Not that much. You're very interesting. So people want to hear what you have to say. So I'm confident in that. This is an early Sunday release too, so I'm very confident that people are gonna want to hear what you have to say because I do. Because that's why I didn't want to cut it off. I'm like, anyway, you had me spellbound. But I wanted to bring up your website. Very popular. You've grown and grown and grown. PaulCraigRoberts.org is the website. You have a donations page on that website. You pump out this stuff for free. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cold. You pump out this stuff for free. You scatter it all over the world. Millions of people are reading your stuff. And I thank you for coming on USAWatchdog.com and sharing your opinions and your vast experience on USAWatchdog.com. I really appreciate it.
well, Greg, I have more fun on your show than any of the others.
Well, thank you. And I know people really like you. Actually, and as a matter of fact, people have been saying, you ought to get Paul Craig Roberts on. A lot of people just call you PCR. You ought to get PCR on. Everybody knows what that is, isn't it? Wow, you're like Madonna, PCR. But anyway, you got one name, right? Just 3 letters.
Well, send me the URL and I'll post it.
Okay, I will. Paul Craig Roberts, that's paulcraigroberts.org is the website. There's a donations page there. Lots of books to buy there as well. Paul Craig Roberts, thank you for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
All the best, Greg.